for the Fantasy Feud.
Let's go! Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Fantasy Feud. I'm your host, Marco Balsamo, and with me today, the only person I need, right by my side,
As
Joey
always,
Zone.
yeah, the
As
only
always,
one we can
the
trust.
the only one I can
and
rely
I'm
on.
operating. Yeah, I'm operating at 50% though, because I am selling my truck here momentarily. Very sad about it.
That you have to operate at 50%
Anything?
the entire time because of that?
Yeah, because of like the depression that I'm feeling.
The
It's
depression
been a
of
nice
selling
truck.
your truck. All right. Fair
I
enough.
don't wanna
Fair
get
enough.
rid
So
of
you
my
got
car. That's my
100%
truck.
Marco, 50% Joey, 0 Alex.
0% Alex.
Alex's rib or whatever, really dragging him down.
He's at a birthday party.
He'll never podcast again.
He's at a birthday party. He said, didn't he say that?
He said something.
He's at a
I don't
birthday
know.
party.
Who cares? He's doing something. All right, we are going through a do not draft list for you all today. So, Joey and I
This is
each
all
picked
redraft too.
Redraft. Yes. Redraft.
So this
not
is
dynasty.
like this year we're talking.
Yes, that's hence redraft. that's
Yes.
we're
Just want
talking
everyone
this
to know
year.
that.
We are going to give 3 players each, and it's 3 players that, simply put, we are not drafting them on any of our teams because of their current ADP. It doesn't mean we don't like these guys at the right price, but where their ADPs are right now, there's just no chance in hell that we're taking them. So I got 3, Joey's got 3. Before we get into that, just so everybody knows, it's Saturday, August 14th, around 8 p.m. There's a lot of preseason football going on right now. For all I know,
Browns and
a lot of
Jags
players are going to
just
break
getting
their
into the
legs.
second
Yeah,
half.
shit's happening. So we will talk preseason game evaluations next week. We'll make sure that we're highlighting things that we're seeing. But whatever happens right now, we don't have any updates based on that. We're going into that blind. So, you ready, Joe? Anything else you want to talk about before we get into the list here?
No, I mean there's some good preseason things that have happened so far, but honestly, I don't really want to overreact over the first couple preseasons. They're really, I mean, outside of Ramondre Stevenson, there hasn't been anything, and Justin Fields, there hasn't been anything that's like been truly remarkable. And even those were
that's
like
very
fourth
true.
quarter things.
Fields look good. Fields look good. A lot of people out there. One
thing I
here's
wanna say, 'cause
here's an
I know-
update. No, you go.
Go.
You go. No,
Okay.
I want to hear what you have to
Ramondre
say.
Stevenson, he had a good game, but like, dude, couple big runs. I mean, the touchdowns were good, but like that 91-yard run was a big portion of that.
Yeah, I mean,
who am I to
good
knock
luck
him, but-
picking. We've talked about this. Like, good luck picking the right Patriots running back each week.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wouldn't want.
It's still Belichick.
If I'm a Damian Harris truther, like this is just another reason. There's just another guy who potentially can be the guy from week to week. It's gonna rotate.
I don't think I'm going to
news-
touch any Patriots this year.
No,
But go.
fuck yeah, absolutely not. No, oh yeah. Well, so my news for you, for everyone, is that we have a nice little a new tool here, a little new toy over here that we're playing with. So you get to see it on this episode. But we
Wait,
got
the
some,
drops? Oh, yeah.
some sound bites. Everybody's really excited for it. You can hear them cheering for it. Actually, as we're
Film in
Thank you,
front of
guys.
a live
Calm
studio
down.
audience.
calm down,
Chill.
please,
Okay,
everybody.
relax.
We're in the middle of recording. I'm gonna need you all to quiet down. All right, thank you very much.
Well,
but
I appreciate you doing it so abruptly.
yeah, this is we'll see how annoying I can be with this. I'll venture to guess it's pretty annoying. So enjoy, listeners, enjoy. All right, Joe, do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first off this list?
I got all my notes up right here, so I'm going to go first. It's not a new take, but I'm fading DeAndre Swift this year. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why it's not a new take. There's a lot of people out there who are anti-Swift, but it's mostly like Goff is the QB now. That's a big step back. Anthony Lynn, OC, Dan Campbell, head coach. The wide receivers are Perriman, Tyrell Williams, Hawkinson, Quintez, and the rookie. And they just don't have that good of an O-line. I mean, it's actually a much better O-line, but, dude, that's a bad team to be on. I mean, for a running back to get a big amount of run, you got to kind of have the lead. It's going to be playing from behind the entire game. Like, I am not a DeAndre Swift fan at all this year. And I mean, there's a million reasons, but I'm sure you're not either.
I'm not. I mean, so I could see Swift doing well. Like, I get the idea. I get in a PPR league. I get the concept of people thinking, all right, this team's going to be trailing. There's nobody to pass to. They're going to just use him as an outlet like crazy. And it's very possible. I mean, he could lead the league in targets for all the fuck we know, right? Like, it's absolutely possible. But with his current ADP,
I mean, potentially.
That's he's going 29th overall. He's going right next to David Montgomery from the running back side. From the wide receivers, Terry McLaurin, Allen Robinson, and CeeDee Lamb are going right after him. Like, I would much rather have any of those guys by far. I don't have worries about those guys. I have worries about Swift.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like, the Lions are going to be taking a big step back, probably trailing in a ton of games. Their defense isn't that good. His game script last year was rated like a negative 5.4. So he doesn't have like much of a position to be in. They picked up Jamal Williams off free agency too, and he's made like a ton of mistakes. I'm just if I am banking on DeAndre Swift as like my RB2. I mean, there's gonna be those high games, but there's gonna be those really down games too.
Yeah, I'm with you. I just don't. It's not somebody who I'm gonna bank on, and it's not somebody I just don't like. I don't like grabbing somebody whose risk is as much or more than their upside. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
He lost them 2 games last year. I mean, he had that fumble. That one was the one fumble against the Titans, and then that drop in the end zone where it's just right into his hands. And those are 2 games they lost because of mistakes he's made. He's a great running back, and his top end is awesome, but he's just like so many things going against him to be drafted there.
Super talented. It's just situation. Like, and it's the case for most running backs, right? Like, there's very few times that we're going to come in here and be like, this guy's just not good. Like, it's not the case most of the time. It's just the situation is not right.
Exactly. And you're taking him over Dobbins, Chris Carson, Josh Jacobs. I mean, like, those are the top 3 people that I'd much rather have over him, like ADP wise.
Yeah.
Dude,
I'm not even a Jacobs fan, but like
Jacobs
was RB8 last year. Like,
he
was RB8.
I don't know how you're not a Jacobs fan.
I'm not. So don't get me wrong. I like Jacobs. When I say I'm not a fan, I'm saying
you're gonna like Jacobs.
No, I like Jacobs. My point is, I'm not like a truther because I know Jacobs is never going to be a top 5 running back because he's not Derrick Henry and he's not going to have the receptions. But he is like a pretty safe RB1, at least a low-end RB1. So I just don't get why he's dropping all the way 20. What, because Kenyon Drake joined? I love Kenyon Drake, but Kenyon Drake's going to be there for receptions, which Jacobs didn't have in the first place. I like Kenyon Drake. I like Kenyon Drake as a sleeper this year just to give you like RB2 numbers from where he is, right? But my point is Drake's going to be in the receiving role out of the backfield, which is something Jacobs didn't have even when he ended RB8 last year. So what the fuck? Who cares? Like, it doesn't make any difference at that point.
Then back to DeAndre Swift, like, the only thing that you really can bank on potentially is that PPR if he's the scat back. So I don't hate him as like an RB2, but like I'm not taking him as a high end RB2. I'm like if he falls to me and I can give him in like the 4th round or so, like I'll probably take a shot on him. But I mean, a lot of people are low on him too, so maybe he falls. But like, I'm not taking him over, especially not like Chris Carson or Dobbins.
Yeah, I agree with you there. All right, anything else on Swift before I go into my guy?
No, your turn.
No? All right, this one's going to be the most controversial one of the entire. Are you ready?
Okay, kind of.
Nick,
one more time.
Again. One more time. Nick Chubb. I am fading Nick Chubb. I am not drafting him. I know. Is there a boo? Do we have a boo thing in this whole thing? Listen,
I don't know. You find that. I'm going on mute because I got some typing to do.
Yeah, go ahead. Type away.
My stats as you talk.
I have some things to say about this. I know it's not going to be a loved opinion here, but that's why you listen, not to get the same thing everybody else is telling you. And I know Joey disagrees with me. Alex disagrees with me. Hell, everybody I know disagrees with me. But hear me out, all right? Nick Chubb is currently being drafted 9th overall. He's being drafted as the RB7. last year, in terms of points per game, I know he missed time last year. I don't give a shit about that. In terms of points per game, he was the RB9 last year with 17.39 points per game. He's great. I love Nick Chubb talent-wise. Again, we're talking situations most of the time, right? Talent-wise, Nick Chubb might be the most talented running back in the NFL. Hands down. Definitely can be argued that he is, all right? But the situation is just not a great situation for him to be a top 5 running back. And for that reason, I'm not drafting him RB7 in the first round when I know his ceiling is probably what he did last year. So let me go through it. I don't know why I could possibly expect for him to improve from a fantasy perspective last year. He was almost too good last year when you look at it, right? When a player's that efficient, you have to see him either somehow getting more efficient, which I don't see, or somehow getting more volume. And when you look at the two, I don't see either of those things happening. It just doesn't make sense. I'm trying to look at it logically, right? Like, if you look at it, the Browns already ran the 4th most run plays per game last year. Look at the Ravens 2 years ago, right? Like, they were running like crazy. And
they were
all hyped
running
up on Ingram
like
and
first in the league, well above the next best person. Historic numbers.
Agreed.
This
Agreed.
Is just,
I'm not saying
this is just a coach that runs the ball a lot.
Agreed. I'm not saying they're going to plummet. I'm not saying it's going to disappear. My point is there's not much room to increase, okay? So the team is already pretty much where they want to be. I don't see an increase in run plays per game happening, all right? You had Chubb already was averaging 15.8 carries per game. That's a 253 carry pace for the season, which would have been the 4th most in the entire league. So you already have him having a top 5 fucking workload as a running back. You have Kareem Hunt averaged 11 carries per game in just the games Chubb played. So before anybody says, oh, well, he had more carries when Chubb was out. Yes, he did. But he had 11 per game in the games Chubb played in. He's not a normal backup running back. I honestly don't know. So that 11 carries per game is pace for what is it? 177 or so, right?
Wait, so you're going to say because he's... Yeah, but if you're going to say
Listen,
that he's going to get
I don't know.
253,
I
it's going to take
sincerely...
That's too many. That's not too many.
He had 170. He was on pace for 170 plus just for the Chubb games, Joey. So what I'm trying to tell you is, I don't know if there's ever been a team in the past 10 years or so, right, that has had a 250 plus carry rusher and a 170 plus. I'm trying to think. I don't know. I was trying to look at like past teams that I know have been super run heavy, and I don't know if there is one.
This team runs the ball a lot. They run the ball a lot.
I know they do.
They have the best O-line in
do.
the league.
I know they do, and they're going to continue
I don't know
to.
how you're not on the Chubb train.
Listen, I think
Chubb has the chance to be the RB1 this year.
Let me finish. I'm not saying that's going to disappear, but again, so you had them on a pace last year to have a rusher with 250 plus carries and a rusher with 170 plus. Again, I can't find a time. I'm sure it has happened, but it's just not a frequent thing, right? It's just not a common thing. And
all
Chubb
right,
is hold on. No, I gotta finish. Chubb is not involved in the passing game. That's where this comes into. You guys have to understand. Everybody has to understand. A running back not being involved in the passing game, being a top 5 PPR running back, is almost impossible. It takes Derrick Henry-esque levels of involvement rushing. He had 380-something carries last year. That's what Derrick Henry had last year. Chubb is not getting 380. He'll be lucky if he gets over 250 again. It's just, it doesn't add up. The math doesn't add up, guys. I get it. You want to just look at it as a talent and just say, he's super talented and the team wants to run, so he's going to have 300 carries. But mathematically, it doesn't add up for him to have that many carries and Kareem Hunt.
Enough. We get it. You made all your points. What are we going to do about the number one in the juke rate, number 1 in yards created per touch, number 3 in total yards created in 12 games. He's number 4 in yards per touch, number 3 in true yards per carry. Dude,
he's unbelievably
even if
talented.
the volume goes down, the volume may slightly go down, but he is the number 1 running back behind the best O-line on one of the most run-heavy teams, and he is great, efficient. I just don't understand. He's not even getting drafted in the first round.
Yes, he is. He's being drafted 9th overall. Ninth overall, okay? Let me finish. You just made my points for me, okay? Last year, he was RB9 in terms of points per game. That was with him having enough volume that he was on pace to have 250 plus carries. That was with him performing so phenomenally in every fucking efficiency metric, just like you just said, right? He was phenomenal. He's amazing. But listen, let me finish. He's amazing. But my point is, Joey, you look at those numbers. When you look at his efficiency, do you look at it and say, this guy's going to get even better? Or do you look at it and say he could potentially regress a little bit and still be a top 5 amazing running back? That's what it is. He could regress in terms of efficiency a little bit and still be a top 5 amazing running back. He could regress in terms of volume a little bit and still be a top 10 volume guy. Like, the point is, when you have a player who's at the high end of everything and he still only ended RB7, or what was it, RB9 in terms of points per game, to me, that means this is this guy's potential ceiling. And if anything goes the other way, he's going to fall out of an RB1 conversation. And that's what I'm worried about. I don't see him getting the only area, when you look at his game last year, the only area that he could improve is in the targets, in receptions, in the receiving game. But they do not want him involved in the receiving game. They made that clear last year. He had 1.5 targets per game. 1.5. They have no interest in involving him in that. So Joe, I'm out. Like, I'm out on Chubb. I'm not drafting him at this pick. Not drafting him. Listen, and I'll give a few names real quick, and you can tell me.
You've gone
hold on.
on this.
No, I'm giving a few. I'm just giving my names of who I would take over him. That's going in the same spot. All right, and you can tell me whether you agree or not. But Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce, Aaron Jones, Tyreek Hill, and Stephon Diggs. All those guys, I would absolutely 1,000% take over Chubb, easy, without even blinking. On top of that, I would happily in the next round, in the second round instead, take Mixon, Eckler, or Najee, and I expect all three of those guys to do better than Chubb. So I'm not saying take them over him.
I'm prepared for you to die on this hill.
I will. I'll die on this hill.
Die on it. This is my guy this year.
I don't think he passes. I don't think he passes RB7 at the highest. At the very highest. I would bet money there's no way he ends RB6 or higher. Bet money. Again.
Bet the reputation. Put the reputation on the line. The reputation is perfect for me.
Reputation's on the line. Go ahead. Everybody keep the receipts.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the one. This is the
freezing cold
I will
takes.
die on this hill, and I will happily die on this hill, and I'll come back to it at the end of the year, and you guys won't give me any credit. But it's all right. It's all right. This is what happens. This is my life.
Because there will be no credit to give. All right.
That was my big controversial one. Let's get into the others now. Go ahead.
Mine's not even that controversial. This is pretty much, it's pretty standard, but I don't know. Maybe somebody needs to hear it. Adam Thielen is not worth it at wide receiver 16. He was the first in route participation on his hilarious. This is we're all cracking up here.
I'm sorry.
He's first in route participation, which means he runs the highest percentage of his team's routes, but the Vikings were 25th in pass plays per game, and Thielen was only 30th in routes run. So they're not running that many routes. They're not throwing the ball that much. They're running the ball primarily. So Thielen's going to rely heavily on efficiency, red zone usage. He was third in red zone targets, third in touchdowns, 14, fifth in dominator rating. But now we got a second year of the blooming Justin Jefferson, and I think he is a flower that is going to be needing a ton of water and a ton of targets and a ton of balls thrown his way. I can't imagine that Thielen's going to have nearly the same volume on the team. I can't imagine he's going to be as efficient as he was, because 14 touchdowns is a lot of touchdowns, especially with Kirk Cousins throwing them. And if we're expecting Justin Jefferson to get a good handful, then there's not that many to go around. I think you're taking Thielen really, really early at wide receiver 16. I think he's a flex play this year. That's above. Okay, so here, actually, I'll give you these people later, but I want to hear your thoughts on the Thielen thing. Like, what do you think you're getting out of Thielen this year?
I think Thielen is simply put a a toss-up, right? I mean, he was wide
He's the
receiver
Kirk
10
Cousins
last year.
of wide receivers, of wide receiver
Yeah,
twos.
it's very similar. So, I mean, he was, I think it was wide receiver 10 overall last year, right?
Yeah.
Would I bet on Thielen to end as wide receiver 1 again? Absolutely not. But he's going wide receiver 18. That's a pretty significant drop. I'm with you. I don't think I'm going to have Thielen on any of my teams because of the risk. As far as it goes of do not draft, like I'm with you. But am I going to explicitly tell somebody they're dumb for taking Adam Thielen at wide receiver 18 when he was wide receiver 10 last year?
Oh.
No. Like I could see it working out. Like I could see him being a wide receiver 18 or higher.
No, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think Adam Thielen's going to have a bad season by any means, but I just don't think he's got a very high ceiling. He's probably got a pretty high floor, though. I think he's got a pretty low ceiling. I mean, just at the end of the day, if he's going to be your wide receiver 2 and you've taken 2 good running backs to start your draft, you got a first wide receiver, probably say like, I don't know, Stephon Diggs or so, and then you're looking for a wide receiver 2. I think what you really want in that wide receiver 2 position is a guy who's got a high ceiling, because you got your running backs up front, you got your other wide receiver. You're looking for a nice, dynamic guy who can take a burst and probably win you a game just by getting maybe like 20 that you weren't expecting to get. And I don't think that's really going to be Thielen.
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's plenty of options. I just don't think, like, I think if you're drafting, I think the best way to look at this, if you're drafting Thielen, then your draft strategy might be a little bit off unless he's dropping off. But like, there's just better options. Like, there's no reason to be taking him at that position when you could be getting your second running back. You could be getting a higher upside wide receiver. Like, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Yeah. Because it's just like, I mean, if you're taking that, you're guaranteeing yourself 10. But like, say you could have started like Amari Cooper, who could potentially get you 25 to 30 on a good day. He may get you 0 on some days, but like I would rather have that risk for like that chance of 30 than just take a solid 10. Just for everybody here, just full disclosure, I just had a important call come in about selling that truck I was telling you about. It's going to be happening tomorrow, so my spirits are a little bit lifted. Hey, great job.
I'm getting good with this. I'm getting good with this thing.
We're doing good now.
All right. Yeah. So
just go to your next one. And at the end of the day,
we were talking Adam Thielen. I don't know what we said, but yeah, don't draft Adam Thielen. Sure.
Yeah. All right. It's just like get a better strategy.
All right. Next. So my next one, I don't think it's definitely not as controversial as Chubb, but there still might be some people who find this one a little bit. Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews currently is being drafted 47th overall as the tight end 5. Do I think him being drafted as the tight end 5 is wrong? No. He's probably 5 or 6. I have him as 6. I have TJ Hawkinson as 5 and Mark Andrews as 6. And 4 is Pitts for everyone else out there, and I like that. But I'm not wasting my pick here with Mark Andrews. I do think you guys have heard me talk a lot about the value of having that tight end advantage. I do think it is worth spending a high pick on a Kelsey, on a Kittle, and potentially Waller and Pitts if they fall into that category. Pitts is risky for me in redraft, so I'm not getting on that. But I do understand that and spending the high pick. After those guys, I'm fucking waiting. I'm not going and getting Mark Andrews, who's incredibly inconsistent, who's on a run-first offense with a mobile run-first QB, who's on an offense that just added a bunch of wide receiver help in Rashad Bateman and Sammy Watkins. Like, I'm not going to go ahead and focus on Mark Andrews as really a focal point of my team because you're drafting him in the 4th round. That's a huge price to pay. Just a few guys that are going around him or after him that I would way rather have on my team. Cooper Kupp, Kareem Hunt, who was last year's RB11, I think he was. I mean, with how thin running back is, I don't know how you could pass on that for a tight end. Chris Godwin, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore, Brandon Ayuk, Travis Etienne, and again, TJ Hawkinson's going after, and I like TJ Hawkinson more than Mark Andrews. So That's my whole thing. I don't have as many stats as I did for Chubb and everything like that. Mark Andrews is going to win you.
Agreed.
Mark Andrews is going to win you some games. What? What was you saying
Fuck
over there?
the stats. Agreed, dude. We don't need stats.
Yeah, you're on board with this one, right?
Yeah, I'm on board. I just look at it like this. It's like that drop off, like as you're saying, like the Kelsey, Kittle, Waller, that drop off is a lot steeper than the ADP would lead you on to believe. Like, you are not getting somebody who's the next best to Darren Waller. You're getting somebody who is a clear tier below and is pretty much more close to the people in his tier than he is to those people in his top tier. And I mean, wherever Pitts falls, I mean, he's like it's like for him, he's like a high type of pick. Like his ceiling's very high, so like you're gonna have to reach for Pitts if you're gonna take that chance. But like if you're looking for a safe tight end, that's kind of what you're gonna get in Andrews, and he's in that second tier, third tier maybe. But I mean, it's way too high. Like you're just drafting him way too high. Go get Hawkinson. Like exactly. Go get Noah Fant. Go get Tanyan. Like they're all kind of coming up with the same numbers.
Or even later. Like I wouldn't even get those guys. I go even later. So I think something that I've talked about this a lot.
Well,
strategy
wise, it's up to you. I just think that
right.
I just think regardless of anything, Andrews is way too high.
Agreed. So I've talked about this a lot over the past few pods, and I've been trying to get this as a mindset out there for our listeners a lot more. But people need to stop looking at the players that they draft and the players they have on their team in terms of, you know, do I have a wide receiver 1? Do I have a tight end 1? Do I have a top 5 tight end? Like, you can't say, oh yeah, but I have Mark Andrews, he's a top 5 tight end. Like, that doesn't fucking matter. Don't put him in the same boat as Kelsey and Kittle and Waller. Like, he's not in that realm whatsoever. It's a totally different conversation. I actually forgot to write it down. I know I've been giving examples like this with Kelsey and everything like that, but I found another really good one I wanted to give. I think, don't quote me on it because I didn't write it down, but the difference in points per game between Stephon Diggs, who was wide receiver 3 last year, and the wide receiver 10 was a bigger gap than the wide receiver 10 to the wide receiver 32. So if you're out there and you're like, yeah, but I have a wide receiver 1 on my team because I have the wide receiver 10, that's not the same as having an elite guy. Like, it's a totally different conversation. They bring a whole lot more. Like, and it's just understanding those point differentials and those gaps will do you wonders to building a better team.
It's very high-level fantasy stuff. But, yeah, I get what you're saying. It's basically just you're not just looking to fill the team up. You are looking to put together a winning roster. Don't just fill the team. Win the team.
It's math. It's math. You want the most points out of your team. That's what matters. Like I said, with the example I just gave you, the wide receiver – this is a math pod now. Fuck everything else.
Yeah.
The wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 11 last year. Think about that. If you had the wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 11 last year, in your mind, you think about it. Okay, I really want you to think. Everybody think about it.
WR10 and WR11.
The wide receiver. Throw me off. If you had the wide receiver 10 and the wide receiver 11 on your team last year, in your mind, you have 2 wide receiver 1s on your team. That sounds awesome. Sounds way better than having Stephon Diggs and the wide receiver 32. But that combination, Stephon Diggs and the wide receiver 32, gave more points per game than the wide receiver 10 and wide receiver 11 combined. Like, it's understanding those things and not just looking at it from a general standpoint.
But just I'm
out of breath on my spiel.
Mark Andrews, the drop off between him and that Waller, Kittle, Kelsey tier is a lot steeper of a drop off than the ADP will lead on, and you are very good at, if you avoid him, you're probably going to get a good starting wide receiver, starting running back potentially, and then you'll probably get the similar production from the tight end you get 3, 4, 5 rounds later.
Yep, 100%.
Nailed it. And speaking of tight ends, nailed it. Ooh. I did really well. So we have another tight end that's very popular among the kids.
Love that.
Generally, it's Rob Gronkowski. It's the party guy, really guy who loves to have fun. But I just think he's going a little too high at tight end 9. Tight end 9 is just it's above Fant, it's above Tanyan, it's above Gesicki. And we saw last year, like, he was solid, but he didn't really have that burst, that's extra step that he had a couple years back. And he was 57th in route participation, which is bottom 5 among all the starting tight ends. And he got now, who's coming back? Cameron Brate. I mean, Cameron Brate had a good relationship with Brady, and now you got O.J. Howard coming back too. Gronkowski ended 2020 as tight end 13. Still going to be a red zone threat, but with those two guys coming back, he's probably not going to get as much yardage. He's got a pretty low floor. He had 9 games with single digits and 7 games under 6 points. I just think that where you're be taking Gronkowski is just name value alone is buoying him a lot. Like, he should be going tight end 20 potentially. I mean, like, I would honestly rather have O.J. Howard, not from a value standpoint, but from what I predict that offense is going to look like. I'd rather have O.J. Howard than Gronk.
So I'm going to disagree with you a little bit here. For one, I think you got your numbers thrown off there, Joey. What'd you say? Where did you say he's going? Tight end what?
Tight end 9.
No, he's going tight end 15.
No, let's look.
Yeah, you might have been looking at his bye week. He's got week 9 bye. So that might be what you saw. And
still, I said thank God I said 20.
But you said 20, so you still think it's high.
And O.J. Howard above. I'm going.
Yeah, you're sticking with it. It's all right. It's all right. We don't need to correct you too much.
Yeah, guys,
here,
it's all right.
Everybody, calm down. Let's see.
Everybody can make a mistake.
Everybody, give Joey, give Joey some warmth. Let him feel some love a little bit. Make sure he's feeling. There you go. Thank you, everybody. Guys. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Needed that.
Yeah. So, at tight end 15, at tight end 9, I would totally agree. But at tight end 15. I like Gronk. I think he's decent. I think he's just a decent value. I'm probably not drafting him, though. I agree with you. I don't think I'm wasting a draft pick on Gronk. I liked him last year as a total sleeper and got some points and stuff. But, yeah, I don't think I'm taking anything out of Gronk. I think he might end tight end 15, and that's accurate, yes. But, again, same conversation as Mark Andrews.
He's going tight end 9 in standard.
Okay, you were looking at standard. Got it. Okay.
Standard.
This is a standard
we
pod.
take all that back. I don't apologize anymore.
Doesn't apologize.
It's not a standard
He doesn't
pod,
apologize
because
we're a standard pod. We've never talked standard in our entire lives, but he doesn't apologize.
No,
it's
but
all
it's
right.
an
You
honest
don't have
mistake.
to apologize, Joey.
I don't know apologizing for honest mistakes.
I don't know if it's an honest mistake. We never talk standard.
To get better.
So you might as well be
all
looking
right.
at a different sport. But
go. What do you think about it?
All right. I'll go into my last one to wrap us up. And this one,
don't just take it away from here. I think Gronk. I mean, everything you're saying is, everything you're saying is true. Like, I mean, like, he's got some decent, like, I mean, he's a tight end in the red zone. Like, that's what he is. So, like, I mean, there could be multiple touchdown games. There could be touchdowns, a fuck ton of them. But I mean, I'm not going to be banking on that, and especially with how old he is now too.
Yeah, no, he's a streamer. I mean. What's weird is when I'm playing around, Fantasy Pros sucks. You go to tight end, he's tight end 15. You go to overall, he's showing tight end 13.
Let's get a beef going with Fantasy Pros.
Fantasy Pros does suck. But
we're gonna release our diss track later.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely just guys around that, like, he's going around. I know you're not a Mooney fan, but he's going next to Mooney. He's going next to Nyheim Hines, who I love as another again this year. I don't know why his ADP dropped so much.
Saying Mooney there hurts my argument. What has Darnell Mooney done? Like, what
he hasn't done anything. I'm just talking about the upside. Like, Gronk does not have much upside. That's what I'm agreeing with you with. Right?
All right. Next episode is going to be an anti-Daryl Mooney.
Darnell.
That's Darnell. Daryl.
You don't even know his name.
Who's Daryl Mooney? Daryl Mooney was somebody.
All right, Joey owes everybody an anti-Darnell Mooney post, and I can almost guarantee, Joey, that once you actually go look at the stats and everything for Mooney last year and start diving into it and projecting, you're gonna come back and say, "Fuck, actually, he is pretty good value." So we'll see. You owe us a post.
Yeah, I owe a post.
No guarantees.
Could happen.
You just owe a post.
Could happen.
Right. not ruling it out.
It
could. Or is mine the last one now? I don't have a very exciting one. I didn't. All right, fine. This one is not. I didn't. I don't have the data to back me up, although I feel really strongly about it. But I am not taking Chase Edmonds at RB27 at 67th overall. It's just not happening. I get it. I get the excitement of, oh, if James Conner goes down, Chase Edmonds could be the man. He's flashed and had great fantasy games in the past. It's a potent offense. I get it. But I just don't see how. So some players that he's going right next to. I'm staring at the ADP right now. Chase Edmonds going right after Darrell Henderson, Kenny Golladay, Michael Thomas. Fuck those three. But right before Javonte Adams, T. Higgins, Juju.
Still would take those three.
Cortland Sutton, Raheem Mostert. Just so many guys who have higher upside. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, so many guys who have way higher upside. So many guys who I have more faith in. You look at Edmonds, and yes, if James Conner goes down and he becomes a full workload, then he has some value. But his value is still probably a low-end RB2, even if he had the full workload. You have to realize they don't give the ball to the running backs in the red zone. Like, it's not – they're not getting the touchdowns. It's Kyler or it's DeAndre Hopkins, or maybe now AJ Green, now that you have another big body wide receiver who's great in the red zone. Like, it's not going to be the running backs. So when you lose the ability to get the touchdowns, and I wanted to look at the stats. I don't believe that I know they didn't utilize Kenyon Drake enough in the passing game last year. I don't know what their overall team stats were for utilizing the running backs, but it's just, again, something that's scary.
Sixth
if they're not
run
utilizing
plays per game. But then you have Kyler taking maybe 10 of those at least.
Right, and I know they had a good workload. Like, Kenyon Drake had a good workload last year on the ground. But I'm talking about receptions. Like, if you're not getting the receptions and you're not getting the touchdowns, there's no possibility for you to be an RB.
Well, Edmonds was 7th in receptions last year.
Okay, so Edmonds gets the reception category fairly.
Yeah,
like, I get it. But there's just not possible for him without the touchdowns to be an RB1. And if you're not going to be an RB1, then you're not somebody that I want to take the risk on when there's that much talent left on the board. Like, there's so many wide receivers over there. The Cortland Suttons, the Devontae Smiths, the Jujus, again, like, all these guys are so good. They all have the talent to be wide receiver ones on any weekly basis and low-end wide receiver twos otherwise. Even the Raheem Mosterts, and, like, I have lots of risk around Raheem Mostert, right? Like, I might like Trey Sermon more than him. I get that risk, but whichever one of those backs come out on top has RB1 upside. Whichever one of the Edmonds Conner comes out on top does not have RB1 upside to me. So that's when I'm looking at that. Like, I'm not touching a fucking two-headed backfield that I don't know who's going to win, and whoever does win, the upside is RB2. Like, I'm not. Yeah. That doesn't interest me whatsoever. I'm not touching
I think the
it
fact that it's him and James Conner duking it out for RB1 tells you everything you need to know about Chase Edmonds.
Exactly.
Dude, here's a crazy number. He's only 52nd in juke rate, and like, you look at Chase Edmonds and think he's a little guy twisting around, making people miss and stuff. He doesn't break any tackles, really. I mean, he just doesn't create that many yards. 44th in yards created, like 50th in yards created per touch. It's just, I mean, dude, there's nothing exciting about any of these stats I'm looking at.
Right. It's just like he had some good fantasy games, and now he might get the workload. So now I'm gonna assume that he's RB1. Like, it's not. I'm sorry, it's not the case. Simply put, it's not the case.
His best game came on a game where he only got 3 carries. It's like he's just needs to break off these runs, and it's just like, I don't know. I mean, I don't rely on. He had this game where he received 25 carries. He only put up 11 total points, 11.8 points. It's just like he doesn't do it when he gets the opportunities.
Yeah. Again, to me, it's the same thing. I forget who we said it for, Thielen earlier, right? But, like, to me, if you draft Edmonds, your draft strategy went wrong somewhere along the way. Like, and then you panicked and you needed a running back, and Edmonds was the most appealing running back. Like, don't put yourself in that situation. That's what happens to people all the time. They're in the middle of the draft. They look at their team. They don't have a running back yet. Edmonds is the most appealing on the board, so they take Edmonds. And they ignore the fact that there's 10 wide receivers that are 10 times more valuable who are on the board and that should be going over Edmonds, but you say, I just desperately need a running back, and you fucking settle for that guy. That's how you lose leagues. Don't fucking do that.
Name some more people that, like, rename those people that were picked ahead of him.
Name some names?
Around him. Yeah,
name some
I want
names.
to hear some more.
So real quick, running backs, a couple running backs who are going, a couple players that are going before him in general, so, and not far before him, like same round. Brandon Ayuk, I fucking love. Jamar Chase, love. James Robinson, I'm not on the James Robinson train. I like ETN, but we're not gonna. Are we just gonna say we'd rather have Edmonds, who's also in a two-headed backfield, in a battle when James Robinson was a top 5 running back last year or whatever he was?
Yeah.
Like, no, give me James. I'd rather at least risk it on James Robinson. At least if he wins and somehow gets the most carries, I know his upside is RB1. Darrell Henderson, I've already talked about how I think he has RB1 upside if he gets the full workload. Kenny Golladay, Javonte Williams, again,
like
a guy who's in a
crazy.
battle. But if Javonte Williams wins the battle, he has RB1 upside. Like, it's if I'm gonna pick somebody who's in a battle, they better have RB1 upside if they win it. T. Higgins, Juju, Cortland Sutton, Devontae Smith, like so many guys that are just going after him that have way more value. Like, he should be going a good 15 picks at minimum later, like two rounds later to me. And
Dude, Edmonds, I mean, like a Fordham guy, I mean, he's 5'9".
Dude, there's just such
like 200 pounds. No,
there's,
like athletic.
there's such a big
like,
Edmonds truther community, and that's why this exists. Like, it's that group that is just the Edmonds, the guys who had him on their bench because he was the backup, and he saved their games. Like, that's it. Those people are obsessed. But yeah, I know.
Dude,
I don't
know
see
how.
any reason.
It's like he really just has like a couple good games scattered throughout his career, and it like buoys his whole name. I like the word buoys. I realize.
Yeah, we're gonna use buoys from now on. Just so
rising tide lifts all boats.
What do you guys think about buoys? Rising tide.
Yeah, what nautical terms? Oh, they loved
approved.
it.
They approved.
Okay.
They loved it. All right. Anything else,
that
Joe?
everything?
Are we good? That's everything. This was a shorter episode.
I know. I want to do a draft soon for something that matters. So let's put together a redraft soon. We should put together a listener league.
We could do that. All right. If you're interested in a listener league, DM us on Instagram. If you don't follow us on Instagram, I know we haven't plugged our.
Yeah,
Instagram
we're not gonna post this anywhere else. If you want to join the listener league, you gotta have listened this far.
Yes, that's it. We don't do that. We're not
gonna market this.
We don't market ourselves. Also, if you want us to be successful, we don't market. So all of our fans better be marketing for us and making other people listen to us. I guess that wouldn't help you win your fantasy leagues, though, if they were all listening. So, but still do it. Definitely do it.
Make sure everybody in your league thinks the exact same way.
Well, it's not like we all say the same things. Maybe they agree with me and they want other people to listen and agree with you because they think you're dumb.
Who's your favorite, guys? DM us who your favorite one is, me or Marco. Who do you prefer?
That's it. That's your only options. Nobody else.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap it up. Joey, what do we have on the slate for next week?
Next week, we are going to be reading Alex's social security number.
I just spit all over my laptop.
I didn't even know where to go from there. I just thought
you just making that up as you went, and it was social security number. All right, and credit card info, license, everything. We'll give it to you all. Tune in next week on the Fantasy Feud.
Wait.
Joey, play outro music. I don't know why you haven't been playing outro music.
Oh yeah. Well, we gotta record that thing too.
This podcast was hosted by Marco Balsamo, Joey Zoll, and Alex Balsamo. Produced by 133 Media and edited by Joe Amato.